Another episode of the Laud Times podcast. It's great to be back, fellas. We'll start off with Mr. Houston now. I was going to say automatically Nashville came to mind, but Alfred, good to have you in Houston again, like we mentioned a couple pods ago. How you doing today?
Excited, man. The reason I moved down here is for the games, and we're just 1 week away from the next Tigres game here. So excited for that.
Absolutely. Did you ever catch a game out in Nashville? Did they even make the chance, or is that the
No, the one last year in was the Leagues Cup, I think that they were supposed to, I guess, go up against Nashville, but we lost versus Rayados, so I had to go and
right? I do remember that.
yeah.
Cool. Lou, Austin, Texas, my friend. How are we?
What's up, fellas? Good to be here with you guys. Doing great.
Good to have you, like always. Edgar, Double O Nation, up in the DFW area. How are you today?
Doing good, doing good. Recovering from COVID, so sorry if I sound a little weird, but it's giving me a lot of time for Tigres content, so that's been the plus side.
Yeah, and that is the key word, my friend, there of today's episode. So much content. We had a great week overall on the men's side, um, the women's side, all sorts of news that, we got in the last week, the documentary, the rumors. So lots to talk about today. I'm excited. So we'll see what today looks like. But like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. Those that are tuning in, and we hope to see more of you guys tuning in as we progress. Why don't we start with the recap of the Tigres America, the first victory of the week that we got at home, a 1-0 victory. We'll start with some, reactions and analysis there and some of y'all's impressions. We'll start out with you, Alfred. Overall impressions about going into the game with the lineup chosen. We knew that, America was going to come in with some, not a full squad. So even though all their players weren't there, we knew it was going to be a tough game because they're the back-to-back champs and they got a deep squad. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, as you guys know, I was a little bit pessimistic going into the game. I was not confident at all in the lineup that was presented. With both Guignac and Nico up front. I did feel throughout the game that we were kind of split apart. It was there was no cohesion between the back line and the front line. I felt that Gorri was all over the place. But in the end, I'm glad that we got the point. I'm glad that I'm sorry, the 3 points. I'm glad that we got the win. It's important for us to continue winning, especially against important teams like America. Um, Obviously, we beat that record, or we canceled off that record that we had, the negative record of defeats or not being able to get a win against America. So in the end, it was all good. I mean, obviously, we wanted to make sure that we won. It wasn't the best showcase, but it's good for motivation for the team.
Absolutely. That double nine, which you said you were a little bit pessimistic. Lou, overall functioning of what you thought about the double nine and just the lineup selection as well.
I liked it. The only thing I didn't like about the lineup was Luis Quiñones. I think if you were to take out Luis Quiñones, if you were to take Luis Quiñones out and plug in Lainez, I think that lineup works, man. I think that lineup would do really well. Obviously, we there was points in the game where we were getting dominated. I think there was probably what a good 15, 20 minute stretch there where America kind of had us on our toes and could have easily scored on us. I think Fidalgo missed a sitter. But I thought that the team looked great. We dominated possession, which is what I want to see against the stronger teams. I want to see us at least, in the 52%, and we were up in 54% range. I think we got 20 shots overall.
Correct.
And so overall, I think if you put all 90 minutes together, I thought they put together a good game. There's always room for improvement, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from the back line. There's a little bit of bend, but they're not breaking this season. 3 shutouts in 4 games, and that's the one difference from last year against these same opponents. We gave up 5 goals. So it much improved. We've only given up one goal the entire season, so we're doing really well. I think that's the positive, and we're going to get another piece for the back line. So I think that's definitely encouraging.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to laugh when you said Quinones Lou, but I just feel like we all sound like broken record players with like things that we don't like. And Luis Quinones is at the top of the list and somehow still finds a way to find that starting lineup. So the man must be doing something right. In practice, at least, he must be saying the right words to the coaches because it's working that he makes these appearances. You talked about that how America was you know running over us for a bit. I really like that from Paunovic. From the 25th minute on words to the end of the half, Tigres looked dynamic. We were creating chances. We had our own opportunities to score as well, where we possibly could have taken the lead either 1-0 or possibly a 2-0 lead before heading into the half. Uh, Alfred, what did you think about that? I felt like those 20, remaining 20 minutes in the first half was something that we could aspire for as far under the era of Paunovic.
Yeah, I think we got to make sure that we stay strong in the back line. We did have some mistakes. We got lucky in those first few minutes, but the mentality that's really what keeps us afloat. The mentality these guys have, where they don't give up. We heard all about it in the documentary, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the pod. But it's a mentality that our team has overall. They don't give up. Even though, like Lou said in the beginning, the first 15 minutes, maybe we were not playing very well. They started putting things together, and yeah, I mean, like Lou said, I mean, maybe Quinones was the one piece that we could maybe preferred somebody else, Ociel, maybe Marcelo. But in the end, I mean, they know each other, and that's probably one of the things that's keeping him there is that Quinones knows Aquino, he knows Gorriaran, he knows Guignac. So we might not like him, but he's there for a reason, and he's part of the buildup. He does help out in the buildup, and he does you know give us a little bit of attack and a little bit of a I don't know how to say something in the upper third. So and it's obviously Ipanovic is seeing it. So as long as he's still here, which for the looks of it he's gonna stay here, we got to support him. So we got to switch we got to switch it up and start supporting him whenever he goes in, whether he's a starting player or a sub.
Wouldn't that be something if they pull off where they move him and we all move on from him? But I'm with you. I think that while he's here, we got to support, and he ended up with an assist in the second game of the week. So I know people were probably upset that he assisted Nicolas Ibanez, but he's been around for a while, and like you mentioned, he'll probably be here for a bit. So got to support
We
Edgar.
need to tone it down. People are going to start calling us the Quinones haters podcast or something.
Edgar, Marcelo Flores, my friend, winning goal of the game with Cordova on a very astute, intelligent play off of a set piece. Talk to me or walk me through the emotions that you felt as Marcelo was scored that goal.
No, it was great. It was such a beautiful feeling to see that it was a combination of both of those players, and then finding out afterwards that it wasn't necessarily planned to go down that way. It's always great to see Marcelo, uh, having success on the field. No.
Yeah, if you look back at the replay, he Cordova does like a feint, like he's gonna take a shot, but all he's doing in that feint is just to see how the defense is gonna react.
If anybody's going to go to Marcelo,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so when he saw that nobody was gonna slide over to cover, I think Marcelo saw that, realized that he's gonna get the ball, so he made the pass instead, and then Marcelo's able to shoot. And I think there's the replay from behind the goal that has one of the players like yelling like go cover," and they failed to cover. So
Yeah, it was the
great
Dutch
heads
man.
up move.
Yeah, it was nice and refreshing to see as well. We don't really score off of set pieces anymore, and that's one of the topics that I feel like the team has to take advantage and address is corner kick specifically, or like Peyo Maldonado has been saying on Estrella TV, corner kicks. I feel like it was just really cool to see Cordova stepping up and creating that moment. Like you said, figuring out that the defense it was he going to track with them or not, and Marcelo Flores just taking advantage of that opportunity, right? Uh, Both stepping up, youngsters on the squad. The guy comes in and gives us the victory as the game is dwindling. So it was exciting to see and refreshing to say the least. Uh, any other impressions from that game? I know in the second half we still had some dominant moments. Where we were able to create chances. Any players that stood out in that game specifically, as far as the starting 11 or substitutes that were brought on?
To me, Carioca was the man of the match. I thought he dominated that midfield. Um, but he paired up really well with Gorriaran. That was another good game by Gorriaran where I thought at least he's contributing some up top. I think every game that he's played, there is some intention to attack. There is some purpose in his movement now, which we didn't see last season. He was very active. He was all over the place, but now I feel like there is some kind of sense of purpose in the way he attacks, and it's given us options. One thing that's opening up too is that long distance shot, which I think is really important. You saw it in this. I don't want to jump ahead into this last game against Santos, but you see it where players like Angulo now are getting opportunities outside the box and actually taking shots. But overall, I thought our midfield outplayed America's midfield. And so to me, those two guys, Carioca and Gorriaran, kind of get the shout for the America game at least.
Cool. Alfred, anybody else that you'd like to shout out?
Well, I would also like to shout out Reyes. I think Reyes and Pizarro have done an outstanding job. Lou already mentioned it. I mean, we're keeping that back line strong. But I agree with him completely. I think that throughout the entire season, or all games all four games, Gorriaran is the one that has stepped up in comparison to last season. I really believe that Gorriaran is taking advantage of the new physical trainer Ortega, right? Because he is unstoppable. He's all over the field. It's like he's got an extra lung. So shout out to Gorriaran. I think he's doing a great job, and I hope he keeps it up.
Is Ortega Uruguayan?
I thought he was a Spaniard. No.
No, yeah, he is Uruguayo. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
He looks leaner. He definitely, like you guys mentioned, he's definitely all over the pitch now. And Leo, you hit it right on point with there's purpose to what he's on doing. Last year, all of the last 2 seasons, even though we made an appearance to the final against America, and then this last season where we got eliminated against Rayados, he just looked like he was going to give you 60 minutes of running around hard, and he was going to get gassed. And so now, he's getting a lot more touches on the ball, the pressure that he's providing, and the attacking third to when we turn the ball over or when they're coming out of the back. It's really good to see his level, and in finding that niche, right? Because at Santos he was asked to do different things, and when he got to Tigres, being around players like that, you sort of either embrace it or you lose yourself in that role, due to the overall talent around you. So I think that it's great to see him at a high level again, and I think we're going to go far. And as far as if he keeps his level up.
Yeah, and Aquino has also been extremely reliable this season. I thought he was solid last season, but I think he's kind of reached another level this season under Pauno. I think he's found another gear, and he's found the ability to attack. I think partly because he has Luis Quinones there too to help out, and it'll be interesting to see once Lainez gets plugged in eventually how that partnership plays out again. But just having Aquino as an option to go go to the end line and then be able to make crosses. I think is another thing that's giving us options for scoring.
Absolutely. You touched up on one thing, and it was surely demonstrated in that game against America. Long distance shots. I think that we saw a little bit more of it in the Santos game, but America and overall just throughout the season, the guys are taking advantage of that long distance shot. So I would expect that that's an indication by the coaching staff, especially with all the weapons that we have offensively. So really cool to see that aspect as well. I just wanted to make sure I fed off of your comment. Let's talk about the debut on television in the U.S. I know that we were on Fox Deportes, and we talked about that. That's now you're going to be able to find the games online there, and we talked about Estrella TV. And one of the things that I praise in having both options is that you have the option to get different types of audiences. Some who are able to connect immediately and able to use technology so quickly and log in and be access Fox Deportes via the app, via Fubo, via YouTube. But then you have something a lot more simple like Estrella TV, which at the time we didn't know that it was. You could also watch through the app, and we recommended people on the pod to watch them through basic TV, like with an antenna. It's a basic channel on any local, at least in Texas and California where it's based out of. So we get Luis Omar Tapia, who is a guy that's worked at 2DN before, ESPN before that, long time narrating, Champions League game with Diego Balado, and they made an excellent partnership. And Chilean, Argentinian on the broadcast. And then you get someone who knows what's going on around the team, is very familiar with the news, the day to day, and just the familiarity of providing feedback and also constructive criticism against the team like Peyo Maldonado. So I thought it was a 10 out of 10 debut as far as getting people to tune in and buy into what they're doing. Thoughts on that, fellas? Anybody that wants to step up as far as what your experience was with Estrella TV?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to walk back what I said last week on the pod because I thought it was gonna be a cheap experience. One thing I was really worried about was the quality, and man, the quality was great. I streamed it on the Apple TV using their app and didn't have any glitches. Uh, which I was running into issues with VIX when we were on VIX Plus, and that's a paid app, and a lot of times I would run into issues with it. And this has been pretty much flawless for what it is. And so free app. So I was really happy with that. And on top of that, I think also having, like you said, Peyo Maldonado on there adds an extra touch because he does know the team inside out. He has connections within the team, so he's able to kind of speak from experience from what players are telling him. And I think it's great to see him on there. To me, it's great to have a network that actually cares about us and wants to be here and doesn't treat us like like we're the fourth stringers on their network. So to me, I just love it. I think a lot of people, from what I was gauging online from my timeline, most people were happy with it too.
Absolutely. Alfred, did you get a chance to watch on Estrella TV or did you Fox support this?
Yes, no, Estrella TV and through TV. So I'm actually excited as well. To me, it just brings back the memory that what I always knew since I was a kid was that America or Chivas were always the teams that were getting broadcasted on TV, and it was never Tigres or it wasn't Rayados or other teams. It was always America and Chivas. And now, just thinking about not just the older generations that are maybe just stuck on TV, but any new generations, kids, they're not paying apps, they're not paying for subscriptions. If they want to actually just tune in to a game, they'll be able to turn on Estrella TV and watch Tigres. I think that's something that's very valuable, and it also happens now in Mexico with Azteca TV. With Azteca, which is going to be broadcasting all the games nationally for Tigres. So it's amazing to me. Uh, it gives us an opportunity to expand our fan base to take our team to other regions that perhaps weren't able to watch it before.
Absolutely. And one of the cool things and features of Estrella TV that I enjoyed is, after they take the break, they have like a countdown of when they're coming back. You're not getting just, blatant commercials and, there's no discussion. And that was something that I saw being lacking with TUDN. And I don't even know if that also happens in Mexico because I haven't watched a game in Mexico on TUDN. But I feel like the halftime, analysis or the going over the highlights was lost, and I felt like watching through the TUDN, this last season, or even on TUDN now, on any other games that we've watched, like there's nothing but commercials and feeding you commercials, the same commercials, and then you just like, we'll be back, and and yada yada, Tigres versus America, and at least with Estrella TV, you had the countdown. So if you had to go to the restroom, you had to go make yourself another drink. You go do whatever you wanted. You knew when they were coming back on, and there was also analysis talked about and going over the plays. And maybe that was due to the fact that they're really giving the emphasis on the team. So I really enjoyed that aspect of as I was watching the game on Estrella TV. Edgar, you were able to figure out. You're back with us. Anything that you want to add to the Estrella TV debut, the game against America, before we move on?
So I loved it. I mean, my expectations also weren't necessarily super high just because Estrella TV, I'll be honest, it's not a very recognized name even here in the States. I mean, here it's Televisa, NBC, Telemundo, and, that's pretty much it. But it was phenomenal. It was a really customized and curated experience for the Tigres fans, which is something that we were desperately asking for. And I think it's only going to get better. There was no issues. There was no, nothing, no complaints really. And our other Edgar is commenting that he's, happy that Amazonas are going to be on Estrella TV as well, which I do think is like another great added benefit. There were so many games that we missed out on where you didn't get to see them because TUDN just decided not to broadcast Femenil.
Yeah, and he's also mentioning the post game interviews, and one of the things that was pretty cool, and touching back on, Pello Maldonado is, having someone like him, you get the true feeling of what is going on with the team. So what he's spitting out of his mouth, whether it's negative, constructive criticism or just positive feedback, there's not a made up or it's well thought out. He knows what he's talking about. He's got the big data that he talks about, and so even within in his post game interview, he throws out a really good question, which you probably would have never expected that from somebody else covering the game. And he talked about Marcelo with the winning goal. 6 out of his 7 goals have been on El Volcan, and so hearing that again, refreshing and very neat to experience a lot more proximity to the club. So nothing but great things from Estrella TV on the debut.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, we had another game that we were able to tune in. We'll continue with the men's and then keep the Amazonas together because I know they played Pachuca to debut the Summer Cup on Friday, but Sunday game or Saturday game, excuse me, Santos versus Tigres. We've had their number as of recent, and we get, man, pregame as I'm getting ready to watch the game. I get the notification about the lineup, and I see it, and my immediate reaction was like, "Wow, this man is not scared. Paunovic is not scared to move it around. He's not intimidated by all these, champions that he has in the locker room, all these veterans that are around him." And I was just super excited, even if I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, which I was confident that we were going to pull off a win based on just the aura that was transmitted with the lineup change in the selection. Thoughts on that, Alfred, on the lineup? I'm not sure if you remember the lineup. If not, I can give it to you as far as what he chose.
So I think the biggest surprise to me was Bruneta not being a starter. And I think we discussed it in our pod a couple of weeks ago. I heard you guys discuss it also last week. Bruneta had not been having good games, or at least the chances or opportunities that he was trying to create. He was always missing that last touch, or something was happening with him. I don't know if it's lack of confidence or what, but he sat him down, and that's something that we did not see in the past. We've been asking, hey, give Cordoba, who's been giving us our goal opportunities throughout the season, with the few minutes that he jumps in, he's able to create opportunities. Why not give Cordoba the confidence over Bruneta? And he did just that. That, I think, to me, was the most surprising change of all. Besides, obviously, also Chuy Garza coming in, instead of Angulo, which Chuy Garza ends up putting the excellent cross for Guignac's goal. I mean, in the end, I think Paunovic surprised us all in a good way, and it does give me a lot of hope for the future. The fact, like you said, that he's not afraid, to sit some of these personalities down, and in the end, he's looking for the players that are in best shape and best form, to get the result.
Absolutely. Lou, you've been asking for Chuy Garza and Aquino pairing in the back as far as our fullbacks. Thoughts and focus on those two in the lineup, and any other impressions from the lineup?
I loved it. I've been saying that we need to have two options on the attack on both ends, right? We've always been very heavy on the right side with Aquino, and then Angulo is a very defensive fullback that doesn't really uh, track much into that area, into the final third. So to me, that was a great move. You can see Chuy Garza developing each season. I think he's learning under Javier Aquino, who's an idol of his, and um, it was just fantastic to watch. I thought Chuy Garza was the MVP of the game. He played extremely well, um, solid defensively, but he was giving us a ton up top. So that was great. I think last season Siboldi didn't give Garza a whole lot of looks. Angulo was a permanent fixture as a starter for our squad. So to me, to see Pauno give a young guy like Garza a shot, I thought that was great. Also, Flores being inserted into the starting lineup, that was also great to see. So I mean, I thought it was great. It's something the team needed as well, because we're gonna have play a lot of matches coming up, and so we need rested players. We need players that you know can play throughout the tournament and not get injured. We don't want to run them into the ground. So I really thought it was a great 90 minutes from start to finish. Obviously Santos had their moments, but we dominated the game completely.
Yeah, I sort of like mentioned it to you guys, and I was tweeting during the game. I didn't think it was a spectacular game, but it was efficient. There was order in the back line. There was an intention of play, and maybe we didn't have more goals or more electrifying plays when we were building up, but we were able to score 3 goals. One thing you touched upon, and I want to, before I move on to Edgar, it was the Aquino spot at the right back and Chuy Garza. We know Aquino has played on the left side, whether as a winger, whether as a left back. Do you foresee that being a change in the future, or do you think that Chuy Garza, because now that was the second game that he was given the chance to play left back, this time obviously started? Do you foresee that might change, or do you think that that's his permanent position at that spot?
I don't see Aquino moving. Aquino has done it very well in that right fullback spot, and honestly, I don't see anybody that can come in and take his spot. I mean, you could improvise Garza in there, but I don't see any competition for him in that position right now. He's been not only for our team, he's been great, but I think in the league overall, he's been one of the top four fullbacks in the league, possibly top
Yep.
five. So he's doing great. So I wouldn't mess with that spot at all. So if you're gonna change anything, it's got to be on the left, and to me, you got to give Garza a shot there, right? Garza and Angulo maybe you know alternating spots. Another thing about Garza, man, 95% pass accuracy in that game, which is unbelievable for a fullback. Crosses, his cross percentage, I don't have it on me, but when I looked at it during the game, was pretty impressive. I think it might have been like 30%, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, like Luis Quinones normally gives us about 12%. So, I mean, I don't want to bring up Luis Quinones, but what I'm saying is you're getting much better crossing efficiency from a fullback than your starting winger. So that was impressive also.
Yeah, absolutely. Bigon also made an appearance in the lineup, which probably would have maybe the weakest appearance. Which to me, personally, I think that he's a straight sub. I like the intention that of switching it around and him giving a shot. I mean, you went with three midfielders who could play as defensive mids, but you gave Bigon and Nando a lot more liberty to move, and gave Carioca the defensive spot. So that solidified it for me. He's a backup. Edgar, any other things that you liked from the lineup that was provided? Marcelo, obviously, we things that we mentioned of Aquino and Garza, Cordova in this game.
Tapia.
Tapia.
I forgot mentioned Tapia, which was exactly who I was about to bring up. I have not seen a goalkeeper that was not named Nahuel Guzman. Just come in this confident and looking this good in a very, very long time. We've had other second keepers and third keepers that have had to step in for a couple reasons, and none of them have looked this good. Like I said, excluding Nahuel Guzman, Enrique Palos was really like the last one who could come in and play solid and comfortably, but that wasn't every game either. There was games where I was afraid that he was out there, but he looked really good. I do think he's a very, very promising bet for this team, and I hope he stays. And I hope he does get a handful of more opportunities this season.
He's so young. He's like 22, isn't he?
23.
22 or 23.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And yeah, anything you want to add on to that, Alfred, as far as his play style?
I mean, I just thought he was amazing in the air. I love the fact that he was just quick at cutting any type of forward crosses or whenever he was about to get a one-on-one, he was running from his goal. He's not afraid to get out of underneath the goal and just straight up attacking. I mean, there was one play where he could have been called a foul. It was just that close. He got to the ball first, but I just love that. I mean, the kid's not scared.
Absolutely. I think that, both of you guys make great points, and ultimately we have somebody that can compete and is willing to step up to the role that is a Tigres goalkeeper and what it means to be a Tigres. So I hope that he continues to start. Peter from Tigres Tactics mentioned that, he is predicting that Tigres or Panovic is going to give 3 games to
Tapia.
Felipe, and then 3 games to Tapia. Thank you. And so obviously with Nahuel, playing at the least cups because he would still be suspended coming back. So I think that's a good theory and a good prediction there. Let's talk about the goals. I'm going to skip around here from the last part of the pod because it happened in the last couple of days. From the vault moment, we experienced Gignac's first goal 9 years ago against Internacional de Porto Alegre to now his 211th goal on a beautiful cross, like Lou mentioned, from Chuy Garza, and Gignac just, movement in the box, straight killer, and was able to secure his 211th goal. Alfred, you made an interesting observation in our group thread that maybe he doesn't catch Cardoso as with his 249 goals, but maybe he doubles our inner city rivals of Chupete Suazo. So what do you think is more feasible there?
I think so. So it's a prominent tweet, very, very, very popular amongst the carrilla on Twitter, right? I'm not gonna name that reporter, not gonna give him any fame that he doesn't deserve, but he mentioned
the guy that owes Mario Castillejo's money.
yeah, that guy. And So he mentioned back in the day, back when I think Guignac was like at 30 or 40 some goals, and he mentioned, oh, Guignac's not gonna is not gonna reach Chupete's 121. And he did his math over how many goals he needed per season. And he's like, no, he'll reach Tomas Boy 104, but he won't reach Chupete Suazo. He's very close to doubling Chupete Suazo's 121. So he just needs to get to 242, and that, I mean, to me, it's 29 goals away. That, I mean, he's got what does he have? At least a year left in his contract.
Yep.
So even if he only gets extended maybe just another 6 months or another year, easily, with all the extra tournaments that we have going on with Leagues Cup, Campeones Cup, Champions, any extra tournaments that we might find Tigres in, I'm pretty sure he's gonna reach that mark of 242.
It's just crazy, man. Like 211 goals, and it's, having that moment pop up recently in the Internacional de Porto Alegre game where he scores against Alisson off of you know, a beautiful, almost, Borussia Dortmund player, Jurgen Damm. Probably his second best cross in Tigres history behind the first one that he sent to Dueñas.
Dueñas.
There was just the expectation obviously wasn't high, and he fast forward to 211 goals. It's just an amazing, stat, and just it's beautiful to watch. And I don't think, even though he has 1 year left on his contract, I think he decides when to go, man. I think that with this new physical trainer, and he doesn't have. I think he's gonna understand if Paunovic is successful with the club and we get a cup in any fashion, whether it's the Champions or the League Cup, which we obviously prefer. I think that he understands what his role will be, and maybe he gets his Damian Alvarez 15 minutes a game and comes in and does what he did in just that skills challenge and just locking goals in the last 15 minutes of a game. So amazing performance by him, and giving him the confidence still to start the game and secure his 211th goal. Somebody else that had a goal in that game, Osiel Herrera, Edgar. We finally saw a glimpse of what Osiel Herrera we would like to see taking on a defender and scoring. Thoughts on his goal that he gave us the second of the night?
Osiel Bellingham, Jesus. I love
Bellingham.
the guy. I mean, it's really unfortunate we don't get to see this much of him because he's, either coming off as a sub or he's injured, but he's a very talented player. We've known that since we saw him at Atlas, and it's just so great to see him get that goal and get that confidence back.
And effortless too, man. Like he created so much space and was able to like track so much space to get ahead with his long legs to score and squeeze a goal in. So that was great. And last, Lou, third goal of the night. I left it to you because
My boy.
Luisao. Assisted, was not selfish, and assisted none other than your boy Nicolás Ibáñez.
The only sad thing about that goal was Luis Quinones getting the assist, because now we're gonna keep him another 3 or 4 years. Just gotta
Adding stats. Adding a
just,
stat.
just got a contract extension right there. But no, I mean, Nico, I told you guys before the season, man, Nico's gonna thrive this season. Nico's gonna do well. Gignac's gonna do well. I think the squad's gonna do well overall. I mean, if we can stay healthy, I think the squad's it's gonna click. And I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but the documentary kind of shows you what kind of dogs we got in that locker room, man. I mean, it's a privilege to see so many true professionals on that squad, right? And so Nico, to me, even though he's not a leader in this squad, he's one of the true professionals. He's one of those guys that puts in the work, that's going to come in. He's serious about what he's doing, and he's talented, obviously. So to me, it's great to see when he scores. Even when he doesn't score, I still pull for him, because I like his movement. I like what he does without the ball, and I think Pauno's kind of helping him become a better presser, which I think is going to be important for his game, for his overall career, to be able to become the first guy that starts to press, that plays defense, and so if he can continue improving that aspect of his game, he's always going to have the goal because he's good in the box. He moves well, he can find the ball, and the ball finds him. So he'll put him away. But it's been a good start. It's a promising start. I think what Gignac has 2 goals this season, and Nico has 2 goals this season. That's kind of what you want to see, that load being spread across. We can't be Gignac dependent.
Yeah, that's something that went through my mind. Like when I saw the stat that they both had 2 goals, how great would it be if they end up with like 7 each or like 8
Yeah,
each to end the season? And obviously Brunetta and Cordova and Bociel fill in some of those stats there. Um, I think that ultimately, like I said, it wasn't a spectacular game, but we looked like a team that's supposed to win, and did what we had to do on the field, even though we weren't as flashy, even with the 3-0 result. So great victory, which puts us at 9 points to end the break as we are going to head
ten,
into the
10 points,
10,
no?
10 out of
10.
Yeah,
12.
Sorry, 10, 10. My mistake. 10 points as we're going to head into the Leagues Cup. Uh, if you would have told me that before the season started, as we ended last season, and obviously we were coming back with Siboldi, we knew, and we talked about how many signings we needed, at least defensively. 3 out of 4 games having 0 goals in the back. Top of the league as far as the first 4 standings. I know it's early, but we talked about it. We needed to be good before we went to the Leagues Cup, where we're gonna play different teams as far as the MLS. And obviously, I expect us, even though we weren't at our best moment before we landed Paunovic, that we were gonna move on. So I think it's going to be a good break for them. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I do honestly believe that I don't think it's going to hurt them as far as momentum wise. I think you're going to be able to get Linus back in shape, give him some minutes, get Nahuel some minutes, figure out more of the play style that you want to play, playing a team like Puebla in the first game, and then obviously Miami. So nothing but positives as we head into that Leagues Cup break.
absolutely.
Cool, cool. Well, quick little rumor, I guess, that seems like it's coming alive. Joaquim Pereira, Santos FC player, where none other than Mr. Clever Boas Pereira came from. Um,
That's a nice.
Out of all the superstars that have played in that club, man,
well,
we
you want
bring
to
up, we bring up Clever, toe punter, Boas, man.
we want to talk about Pele and Neymar at Tigres. They weren't at Tigres. Clever Ball was, shooting balls at the Tamaulipas before Aviles Hurtado came in. So, uh, Joaquin Pereira from Santos FC, player that Santos, went to the second division of Brazil. I know people are having doubts about that. Um, don't have too much scouting on him. I retweeted a thread that somebody put together about him. Some of the videos and some of the stats that I've seen. I mean, he looks, 10 times more athletic than Samir. Um, Strong in the air. I saw him play on both sides of the field, left center back, right center back, but it seems like his natural position is where Pizarro plays at the moment. So I would not be surprised if Guido slides to the left side and then Joaquin Pereira slides in there. Anybody with some impressions or anything that they've seen about Joaquin Pereira, the soon-to-be Tigres player?
Obviously, I haven't watched a whole lot of Santos in a while, but from everything I've read from the folks over there who do watch those games regularly, he's elite in the air. He's an aggressive defender. From the highlights I was seeing, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Carlos Salcedo when Carlos Salcedo was on. That aggressive play style, go after the ball, dog trying to get his bone kind of action. So that's promising. Being able to win his one-on-ones, that sort of thing is great. The only downside or negative about him that I've seen and read is that he's pretty poor passer, a la Luis Quiñones. So so we'll
Lou, we're gonna be toning it down.
he's a center back. He's a center back, so we'll forgive him that he's not the greatest passer on earth. But don't expect a nice foot like Juninho. And oftentimes I wouldn't doubt it if he you know plays it back to Nahuel and lets Nahuel, who has a great foot, be the one to distribute. So I think we're getting a player who you said Arnoldo is in great shape. He looks to be in great shape. He doesn't look like he's hitting the Carl's Jr. big time like Samir. So I think it's a positive. I think it's a guy that we're going to be able to depend on, but we're going to have to ease into him. I think it's not a guy that we're going to have to just plug in right away. He's coming off of a MCL injury on his left knee, from what I've read. So it's one of those players that will slowly incorporate him, and hopefully by season's end, he's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, key thing that you mentioned there is like working him in, especially with the moment that Diego Reyes and Guido Pizarro, they've earned their role as the starters, and with the shutouts that they've had. So I think that working him, until most likely after the League's Cup, once we get settled into the league midway, I think that's where you find the role for him, and we'll see what he looks like. Um, it's still not fully gone through. There's talks about, the way the transaction went down. Santos owed us for Jefferson Soteldo $3 million. So they are saying that, Tigres will pardon that debt in that transaction. So, if he was worth $8 million, now he's worth $5 million. Alfred, you talked about also in the group thread, like he still has to go through the physical aspect of the signing. So we'll see how he does there with the medical evaluations to see if Tigres agrees to it. And then more recently, it's been reported that Santos, like any South American team, wants a little bit more of that pie and wants to keep a percentage of a future sell if Joaquin Pereira does well at Tigres and gets sold somewhere else. So still a little bit of I would probably leave it at a 60 to 70% chance that it's going through, and probably while we're in League's Cup is when we'll finally get more clarity on it. Any other thoughts? What's up, brother?
Oh, the other thing we do know is, before anything happens there, we have to offload Samir, which he's been linked to Fluminense again. The only other credible source besides Double Nation that I saw tweeting about it was
Nice plug. I like that.
thank you. Fafu was saying that his family's already in Brazil, but I mean that really genuinely could mean nothing. But we do have to wait and see what happens there.
Edgar, do you think that if they cannot position him anywhere, that Tigres will just, if Joaquin Pereira comes in, Tigres will just continue paying him, but just take him off the squad? Is that what's going to happen?
They won't take him off the squad, but what they'll do is he'll go hang out with David Molina's boy, Eugenio Pisuto. And so, because I think it's against the regulations, right, to just kick the player off. He has to continue to have an opportunity to continue training. So he would continue to train with the squad, sort of like Lichnowsky did, until we find him a spot.
Yeah, we're not Cruz Azul around here and get into trouble like they did to Dueñas and send him somewhere else. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously he's the guy, but it must be tough, man. Like I don't really wish Samir anything bad, and I just think it just didn't work out. He had good performances at the beginning when he first arrived. And we thought that he would be somebody, especially with a different type of player, right? He was a lot more physical. He was pretty fast at the beginning when he first arrived. And so the expectations were obviously high to fill in for that position in the back line. But it must suck, right? Like you're a Brazilian defender is coming to replace you that's probably 3-4 years younger than you. Same country, at a team that you get paid very well, and it's successful. It must not be a good feeling, but hopefully everything works out and he does find a team soon, and whether that's continuing to train, like going the Lichnowsky route, and wait until the market closes to place him somewhere. It seems like Tigres is willing to pay his wages and just loan him out if needed. So ultimately, he will have somewhere to play. It's just a matter of like who is going to be in the need for him as the market's coming to close.
And I think that is the circumstance here. I know Fluminense originally wanted him on loan, and Tigres said no because they would prefer to offload him. But now that there's someone else with one foot in, I think it's more probable they are more open to accepting that loan offer.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else before we move on from him? Is he the only player that we're getting this season?
Feels like it.
Well,
Yeah.
besides Tapia.
Even though there's word that we still have, potentially one or two more in our pockets, but to me, it just feels like that's going to be it.
And I don't think that
Luis Quiñones. Who else do you need?
that's the fifth time the man has dropped his name. We're going to be soon the Luis Quiñones podcast instead of the La U Times podcast.
Luke, come on, man.
All-Star match. It's going on, or it happened probably about an hour ago. It ended with the skills challenge today. We had several players who are participating in that game. Andre Pierre Gignac, Tapia, Angulo, Guido, and Brunetta. 3 out of those 5 were nominated to the Balón de Oro, which were Angulo, who won best left back, surprisingly. Just being honest there. Guido Pizarro winning best center back, again, surprising there. And Brunetta winning, the best, was it the best player, I guess, of the league for that whole year. And so they automatically got the nod in the All-Star game. And then you had Tapia, who was a coaching addition, if I'm not mistaken. And then Gignac, a commissioner addition. So 5 Tigres representing. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't remember last year's. I don't think they had it against the Liga MX. So I remember the 2022 one. And I don't remember tuning in. And so I tuned in today just because we had 5 Tigres playing in or participating. And we got to see one of them tonight, or 2, I should say, Brunetta and Gignac. Any thoughts on the performances that you guys watched? Not all at once.
I did not watch it.
Yeah, I did not tune in, and I'll be honest. I mean, I'm very happy that our players are getting recognition, and we do have some of the best talent in the league. But for me personally, the All-Star match is not something that I'm necessarily looking forward to or excited to watch, just because of kind of the circumstances that go into how this game is even played. And I'm going to quote Gignac as what he said yesterday in the press conference. He's like, in Europe, you would not stop your league randomly to play this game. It's like it's kind of ridiculous, but he didn't say that. He just said that
you're stopping it for the entire Leagues Cup, not just the game. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, it goes hand in hand. But with that said, too, like if you want to do an All-Star game, you do it right before both leagues start. But with the MLS schedule, obviously that's not possible.
I did watch it, or I did watch at least I think the second half of it. So got to see Gignac in that volley challenge. So nothing I can say can express just what a freaking talent we have. I mean, the guy's amazing. They were passing him crosses behind him, making him run outside the box, and he was still nailing these shots towards the goal. So what can we say?
I said he might have ripped somebody's head off with some of those shots that he scored. It's crazy. I like it personally. I think that obviously I'm a little biased here with Tigres players participating. Brunetta had also a good showing on a shooting drill, which they dominated Liga MX. I don't know. I didn't end up seeing the final result, and we won the whole competition, but we had the upper hand. but I do enjoy it. I grew up watching, the NBA and the All Star game, and obviously the NBA lost a lot of credibility over the last probably 10 years or so. But one thing that was really cool always to watch was the dunk challenge, the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and so seeing this, it has all that American vibe to it. The Pro Bowl with the NFL. I just think the timing could be better, and I don't think necessarily stopping the league. I think that players are professionally, capable of being prepared, and you're able to have a deep roster, and you're able to use, you know, talking about Mexico specifically, that we lack the usage of younger players. I think that you didn't have to stop a league. You know what I mean? You make both leagues travel and go back and forth and use the overall, strength of their squads. I just don't think that we're quite there yet. I think it's still in the early stages, and obviously it's a setup for the World Cup that's coming to the states, and obviously in partnership with Canada and Mexico. But I enjoyed it. I think it's cool to see Gignac participating in something like that, where you get to see his skill set on a laid back aspect, or even you know you see the not the volley, the touch drill, when players are passing the ball and they have to like keep it up in the air and then make it go through hoops. So I enjoyed it. I think the timing could be better. And so we'll see. The game is tomorrow, or scheduled for Wednesday, and we'll see if Gignac gets a goal in a different competition. Right, we've seen him score in all the competition that he's participated in. He was a snub after in that 22. I think he got hurt and he didn't participate, and so we'll see if he gets a goal in this All-Star game. So if
I thought he was. I think he was invited to an earlier All Star back when COVID was around, but because he couldn't travel, he got taken out or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're more correct than I was. I don't think he was hurt. I think it has to do more with that. It was when they released those really cool jerseys that Charlie made, like a white one, and it had like the Aztec
Yeah.
side to it. So I think you're correct. So I think he didn't make an appearance. Any last thoughts before we move on from the All Star match between the leagues?
You mentioned the jerseys. The ones for this year are actually nice as well too.
I didn't like him. I don't know why. I hate this the whole V line. I mean, it kind of looks like a cleavage, man. It's so huge.
I haven't seen them in person, but in picture they looked really cool.
No.
I mean, not for me to buy one, but I liked them.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the Charlie ones were really cool. I was considering buying one whenever, and Charlie was a sponsor of Gignac. I think they lost that partnership there too.
Yeah.
You know, since we're on the subject, I think that we can go into the Leagues Cup preview, but we can probably talk about it next week on the next week's pod, since it'll be closer to the game, which leads us into a little bit of the Amazonas recap. I mentioned it. They played on Friday following that America game, and it was just really great to have so many Tigres games. We had one against America. We had a Friday one against Pachuca for the debut of the Summer Cup, and then Saturday for Tigres versus Santos, and then Monday, as in yesterday, we had Tigres versus Puebla Femenil. So Summer Cup, we got the debut of a new tournament between same concept as the Leagues Cup, but on the women's side, 6 Mexican teams participating. And we got to see the debut, which was the first clash between 2 Mexican clubs, which was Pachuca and Tigres Femenil, which we were able to secure a 4-2 victory. Mila Martinez attacked this game with full importance, because she selected a team that's regular her starters. I'll cap it off to you, Lou, with the lineup and what you thought about the match in general from the Amazonas.
Great lineup, and it's promising to see Mila. I think she learned from her mistakes last season, willing to make some moves on that starting 11. I think last season she was too rigid, wasn't willing to move around some pieces. There were some players that weren't at their best and they continued to start. So I think this season you're starting to see some changes in the starting 11, which is promising. I thought overall we played well. Didn't like the fact that our defense um, gave up some goals that we probably shouldn't have. We kind of looked vulnerable at times. It's normal because Charlin Corral obviously is an elite striker in the league. So I expected at least to give up one, but I think we were too high up and giving too many spaces behind our back line, which is not ideal. So other than that, I thought we played really well. The only negative I can say is Alison Gonzalez, I think, continues to struggle for us. I think that's discouraging. I thought she was going to be great last season and into this season, and she's struggling quite a bit. So we'll have to find somebody to play there, either Jenny Hermoso once she comes back, or Mari Carmen Reyes again at the nine. Give her a chance. But Thembi was amazing. I thought she gave their back line fits, their fullbacks fits, and was able to create a ton of chances for us. So that's very promising.
100%. You talk about, the forward position. I That's really the position of key that needs to be strengthened. I think that, you have Mayor, you have Alison, and you give both of them a shot, even though Mayor has had good moments under Mila Martinez. But once Jenny Hermoso comes back, she's the natural player to play behind that striker position. And Alison has struggled. Probably not going to trust Deidi Ramirez even, to play there, especially coming back so early from injury. So I think that that's a position of maybe not need, but opportunity to strengthen. And I think that if you get a player of like, more athletic caliber that can cover the box in the air, similar to like maybe what Uchenna Kanu was, but on the
Or
striker
Fish.
position, yeah, or Mia Official to just be somebody that finishes plays and beats you in short distance and is a lot more physical. I think that that's where Tigres Femenil could thrive even more. Edgar, any thoughts on the game from the debut on the Summer Cup?
I think we did good, and I hope we can repeat the result against one of the NWSL teams. I know, Pachuca is a domestic team, but still having someone like Charlene Corral and having a regular Liguilla participant, it was not necessarily meant to be an easy match, but I think we were able to pull it off, and I just hope we can repeat it again.
Absolutely.
Overall, the league hasn't done that well. I'll just note that we like the teams that we've sent have not really put up a big fight against the NWSL teams. So we'll
Yep.
see this Sunday coming up how we do against the Dash.
The Houston Dash. Tickets are fairly priced. And so if you're in the Houston or surrounding areas, I think it's a good opportunity. The game's at 7 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. And again, fair prices. I think that we've played them in the past. I think we won one and then tied one with them.
1-1, lost one. We got
Sorry.
blown out in 1-2. Yeah.
Yeah, the first game we won against them, and the second one we lost. So they no longer have Maria Sanchez, so that's a less of an attacking threat that they have there. But nonetheless, they're still an NWSL team, so that'll be the second game that the Amazonas play in this Summer Cup. Alfred, any last thoughts on the Summer Cup match day one before we move on?
No, just like Lou said, I mean, all of the Liga MX teams have lost against NWSL. So in our next matchup against Houston, we got to make sure that we don't become part of that stat.
And quick little comment: Ferral is leading the team in goals in the Summer Cup with the brace that she had against Pachuca. So almost identical goals in the box. So shout out to her for stepping up and guiding us to victory with some of her goals. After that, we had our game yesterday against Puebla, which we were able to beat them 3-0, and we saw a lot of rotations in this game, Lou. Lots of rotations, a lot of players that haven't had the minutes. We had Natalia Villarreal start at left back, which is a player that's gotten the confidence by Mila Martinez. But we had Jimena Lopez start at center back, which in theory she was brought in as a left back, and she played at the left center back position. I thought she did great. I think that that's her position.
Yep.
I had mentioned it to you guys that I didn't think that she could beat out Natalia Villarreal because of what Natalia provides. As far as tracking back and going up to help and support, maybe not taking a player on, but definitely being there. And I didn't think Jimena Lopez could provide that, but she did great playing as a center back. Great touch, great through balls over the top. And then you had someone like Natalia Colin who has shown promise, and then Ana Seca playing right back, which that to me I was not expecting as well. I thought she was coming in to play center back and help out at center defensive mid position, but she played at right back. And let me tell you, I think that if you figure it out, and I tweeted this out yesterday, you move Anika Rodriguez to the left back position, which is a role that she's played in the past, and you play Ana Seca there. I think Tigres with La Muralla, Greta, and Ferral could be exceptional in that back line again. So, overall impressions about the rotation, and you mentioned Mila Martinez learned from last semester, and what were your thoughts going into this game with all the lineup changes?
Good to get some folks rest. I felt like last season we ran Ovalle into the ground, played her way too much, and I think giving her rest is important. Ferral, Greta, all of them need rest, so I thought that was great to see. It was a great first half. I thought they played well. There was good partnerships, even though a lot of them haven't played together. There was good partnerships out there. I thought they moved the ball around really well, created chances. Um, but the second half was the polar opposite. I thought the second half was really bad. It was terrible. We weren't linking up. Not sure what happened to the team. Maybe it was from the coaches and said, "Hey, let's chill out and not get any injuries." It felt a lot like we had it wrapped up and we just kind of gave up. Um, Puebla didn't put too much of a fight, so it kind of set up for a boring second half, and that's what we got. Um, Once again, Alison, not a great night for her. That's a concern, but you mentioned some of the key players, and they look great. Ana Cesa looked great. Jimena looked great in that center back role. I thought she has a lot of patience when she's playing out. So she recovers the ball well, but she's very patient with her passing. Knows when to pass, knows when to dribble. Very good decision maker there. So to me, that was one of those players that I thought, wow, that's a revelation, because we didn't really have anybody there to back up Ferral, but now we know, hey, she can do it, and she can do it really well. So I thought some of those players that got minutes stepped up, and it showed that they're going to compete for a role.
Yeah, and I think that when Greta was subbed out to get some rest, which Mila and other coaches have done, is move Ferral from that right center back spot to the left side and giving somebody that spot, whether it's Kania Plumer or you know other players who Hannah Gutierrez, who've played there. I felt like having a dominant left player, playing there in Jimena Lopez, could challenge Greta Espinosa as far as some minutes, because she's, you know, a lot more physical. She, has, more Europe experience per se and NWSL experience. Not saying that she's automatically going to be or better than Greta, but I think that it does strengthen the position. And with Natalia Collin, a future bet as well as a present bet, competing with Ferral, I think the back line is set. I think that ultimately we're set back there. Nayeli Rangel got some minutes. Belen Cruz got some minutes. We saw Tembi and Jocelyn Montoya play out wide, and you talked about the great first half. I thought they were impressive, playing through both sides, interchanging positions. Jocelyn Montoya is just a great player, great speed, is able to use both feet. And so it'll be interesting to see how Mila Martinez is able to continue to give her some minutes as Ovalle comes back and Tembi continues to have great games. And then eventually we get Jenny Hermoso back and that offensive players uh, you know consolidate or pass around the minutes. So ultimately, I think that we had a good showing, and I saw a lot of people upset about the second half where we were not able to score some goals. But I think it gives the confidence to know that no matter who the players on the pitch are, we have great players overall.
Yeah. Cruz was a little bit disappointing. I don't know how you guys felt, but it was a good chance for her to show that she can play in that central attacking mid position, but she did not. I feel like she just didn't contribute enough last night.
She just looks out of rhythm, I think.
Yeah.
Out of rhythm, and fairly so, right? I mean, she hadn't gotten most of the minutes as far as what the previous games had gone and last season. So, Edgar, any other thoughts on that game? I know that Dady Ramirez came back from injury. You have that as a note here in our guideline. Overall thoughts on the Amazonas?
Expected a tiny bit more. I mean, the second half really did kind of feel like a separate game to me. Not, horrendous, but not up to, the standards of this team. And yeah, just a little bit of room for improvement there. But the important thing, 3 goals, 3 points.
And that distribution is starting off right, Lou.
Yep, we're getting everybody involved, and surprisingly, I think we're doing a little better than last year. I think I think more players are getting touches, more people are getting involved. I think it goes back to what I've been saying. Jenny Hermoso is kind of cramping our style. I hate to say it, but
Come over
it
to the
feels
dark side, my friend. Come
it
over to the
feels
dark
like
side.
she's killing the momentum a lot of times, and so we'll see how that develops, man. That's a concern for me because if Mila sees her as an automatic starter, is it's a concern because then you don't get as many players involved in scoring, and then you place the load on just a couple of the players.
100. Alfred, just like we talked about on the men's side, making a debut for Las Amazonas Tigres Femenil on Estrella TV. But this time we got Peyo Maldonado narrating the games as opposed to commentating the game like he did with Luis Omar Tapia, which it seems like that's going to be the partnership that we get for the men's side. But it seems like my man is going from YouTube shows and Facebook shows to now having a gig for the United States and letting everybody know about the big data and the corner kicks and the 1, 2, 3s. Overall impressions of Peyo Maldonado and the game with the Amazonas on Estrella TV.
It's all good as long as he gets the names right. I called him out on Twitter. I think he was calling Catlana Cantala, which at first it was in the goal. Mayor sets her up for the goal, and when he was saying Cantala Cantala Cantala, I thought he was talking about singing the goal. And then I realized later, he's explaining the whole how the whole play went. He's actually referring to Temi, but. Oh, I mean, besides that, we joked with him, and he took it in a nice way. He responded. He said he was going to get it right, but I mean, I think it's like we already talked about. It's very um, wholesome to hear somebody from back home. It's very it's just right. It almost feels like you're back in Monterrey. You're listening to the RG, which obviously it's not the same as it was back in the day. But you're hearing these local voices that you're used to or that that are carried around in the community or that everybody loves, and he brings his style to the table. So it's good hearing now the Amazonas games with him narrating, and it just coming back on what you guys are talking about the game. I thought it was a great game as well. I love the depth that we now have in the back, and I am hopeful. I think that last season it was a bit disappointing how it ended, but it looks like with the new additions that came in, and now with Peyo commenting the games in the broadcast on Estrella TV. It's gonna have is going to rally the whole fan base around Tigres Femenil again, and hopefully we'll get a nice, productive season that ends in another championship.
Absolutely. Lou got a shout out on there by Peyo. I got a shout out on there, or at
Yeah.
least our accounts got shout outs. He was, reading comments or, tweets that were being sent out to him. Again, very cool. You probably didn't hear much on TUDN. If it did, it was more like people maybe from Mexico. So now people are watching on Estrella TV are in the U.S. And so very cool to hear the different cities that were being shouted out on there. And just helping the brand grow, right? That's the target with all this. That's the target with our project here. It's doing our little part to help the team that we love grow. So overall, good stuff on their debuts on Estrella TV. I think the next thing that I have is Ovalle. Obviously, didn't partake in this game, but she was nominated to the CONCACAF Best Player. She's got a tough task ahead. She's got Charlie Corral, who she's lost to the best player in the Balón de Oro the last two rounds, and then Sophia Smith, who is one of the best American soccer players, and we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we can do our part by voting, and everybody that is tuning in, watching us now, if you weren't aware of it, La Mago Valle is nominated. Make sure you go vote, cast your vote, and see if we can help her win the best player in CONCACAF. She obviously deserves it. She's done it locally, but she's also gotten recognition. On the American side, she's also gotten recognition from scouts. Obviously, she was rumored to go to Manchester United. If she didn't leave now, she's likely to go. She's still young, and so she's got a great future. So I think that the trophy or the award is definitely, something that she could aspire to get.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Juan Pablo Sorin is always
Oh
giving her
yeah.
shout outs on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know if he follows Tigres Femenil or he just follows the Maga or he just catches glimpses, but every single time she scores one of her golazos, you find a tweet of Juan Pablo Sorin talking about her.
That is
Yeah, he's a
facts.
he's a fan of her from what I hear. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see what the results are, but definitely got to support. One last thing, fellas, before we move on to the last part of the pod that we forgot to mention, and I'm seeing the guys talking about it right now in the group thread. There's a rumor that Gerardo El Borrego Torrado is going to be our new sporting director, taking over Sancho's spot. Quickly, I know it's just a rumor still, but it's likely, Furcade from RG reported it. Now, several, reporters have gone on to it. Rene Fernandez from Televisa has gone on it. And, even other guys that leak out rumors that maybe not as credible, but sometimes they nail it. But I think that they nail it after everybody has been reporting. So, quick thoughts on Gerardo Torrado being the addition before we move on to the last part of the pod.
No thanks.
Well said.
Second that. No, I just think that if we're gonna go for somebody that is not linked to the institution, to our history, to our culture, in a an ex player or an ex front office representative or anything like that, then we should be looking in a foreign person, somebody with experience in Europe, somebody with experience in South America, somebody that's going to have eyes further than just Mexico.
And someone who hasn't failed.
Yes.
You talking
Lou?
about the dumpster fire that it's El Tri?
Or
Yep.
Cruz Azul.
And Cruz Azul.
Oh man, yeah. It just feels like this front office has been reluctant to really make a big splash. Every time there's been an opportunity to make a big, huge splash, they fall back on what's easy.
But
And to me, this is just Sancho 2.0. except we had grown to love Sancho because he's been playing with us since what, oh 03. We were used to him. He was part of us now, and so now they bring in a guy who, gonna be very similar. I don't think it's too much of an upgrade from Sancho, to be honest with you. It's not a downgrade, obviously, because as Edgar has said previously, he could have quarterbacked that role from his chair in Dallas, but you know, it's just not what we as fans wanted to see.
Yeah, and tough task ahead too, right? With all the veteran players and the new additions and the future additions that need to be made. Um, it just doesn't seem like that's somebody that you would want making those decisions. And
And
ultimately,
hopefully, it doesn't mean that we're gonna start tapping into the well that is Cruz Azul. I hope that doesn't lead into any partnerships or not official partnerships, but interchanging of players and that kind of stuff. Oh man, that's the kind of stuff that worries me.
yeah, you mean like
A cursed organization. You all of a sudden now have ties with them.
yeah, then we're gonna look like the old Tigres and bring
Yeah.
Misael Dominguez, John Restrepo, and Tomas Campos on the team.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Issue with this rumor is, you throw out this guy who I'll say is not better, potentially worse than Sancho. That's just my perception of it. But you look at what we did with the new physical trainer from Atletico, and why didn't you go after someone of that caliber?
Yeah, and just like Alfred says, the connects, the networking of having somebody in Europe and a European coach and a European coaching staff and you know a a European player that's your soon to be ambassador to the European world and already is. And it's just it's a safe decision, right? Like it's not a pragmatic decision as far as stepping into a new era like we've been trying to be sold as. And I think that they just miss with that. Like they've made some mistakes this offseason with some of the players, some of the things that how they've handled it. The TV rights situation, the Siboldi departure, the fiasco with the two foreign spots and who you're gonna do, the whole Igor Lichnowsky like handling of like the transfer. It just doesn't
The
transmit like
TV the TV issue,
yeah, it just doesn't
nothing
trans
has been flawless this offseason.
and we went from being used to flawless decisions in
perfect
this.
timings.
Yeah, and like just getting ahead of things, right? And it just seemed like even the whole Sancho departure, like how did that come about? We're never gonna know, and so it just seems like we missed out on a big chance to land somebody with a higher profile to continue to build off of what was built last decade and continuing to build what has been this team with the rejuvenation of some of our squad. So just wanted to briefly touch on that. Fellas, this last part of the pod, I won't have much to say. I have not watched the documentary,
What?
No,
but you're not gonna spoil me. I still want to talk about it. It's been out. People have watched it. Uh, I'm not really afraid of spoilers, just because like I've seen so much stuff online, anyways. I'm just reluctant to get VIX again, and I just don't want to deal with like the logging in because I don't even remember my login, so I've just been putting it off. But now that we're coming to this moment, um, Tigres, la historia perfecta. Quickly, well, not so quickly. I'm not in a rush, but we'll start off with I've seen a lot of people saying they've gotten emotional and cried about with some of the moments that have been shown. Um, Walk me through a couple of favorite moments from the episodes from each of you guys, and then we'll talk as you guys present some of those moments. Anybody that would like to start first?
yeah, I'll start. Well, first of all, if you don't want to sign into VIX, I believe they're going to be uploading it every Sunday. Hopefully, I'm right, but they did for the first episode. It's on YouTube. So if you just go to YouTube, go to the VIX page, and you'll find it. I'll share it with you. But I mean, to be able to pull just two moments out of the whole documentary, it's hard, man.
Well, give
It's
me some more. I don't care.
it's a masterpiece. To me, it's a masterpiece. It brought back so many memories. It's um, it's something that takes you through a roller coaster of emotions, man, because it takes you back. The production for me was phenomenal. How, very similar to how now movies and series nowadays do, like flashbacks and, like, cut scenes into future, and then into the past. They did the same thing, where they're, showing us pretty much the whole timeline of last championship season 2023, throughout the entire series. But then as they're showing us that whole season, they're going back into, like, each one of the championship seasons. To me, it was amazingly done, perfectly done. I couldn't have done it any better. I'm not an expert, but even though I'm a Tigres fan, I can probably say that any type of soccer fan will get excited. Like, to me, watching it, I felt excited to be able to share that documentary with some friends that might not be Tigres fans, or some friends that might not be, soccer enthusiasts, but that know that I'm a Tigres fan, and know how excited I get over my team, and that if I show them this documentary, they're gonna understand why. That's how good it is. It just keeps you entertained, throughout. It has a lot of emotion, like I said, and it's a very good watch. I honestly, anybody that has not watched it, including you, is falling behind.
You didn't give me your favorite moment though.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one. So, obviously, we all have our stories. I'm pretty sure everybody has their stories of, what special moments you've lived throughout all of the Adidas championships. To me, I think the most emotional one for me was the 2011. I lived it. I was there in the stadium with my dad. It's the only championship of our whole era that my dad has been at the stadium. Um, After that, he's decided not to go, because tickets started going up, a bonus started going up. It became just, I mean, what we've come to see of Tigres in the last decade, where everybody wants to see it. But back then, when we were going, it was after the 2010, debacle, and it was emotional times. We were coming after the 29 years without championship, and to me, that's one moment that I'll never forget. Just being able to hug my dad, when he told me, it was at the Polito goal. At the Polito goal, he told me, "We're champions, mijo." And that moment right there, when you see it in the documentary, when they have all these players, go through their story, their sentiment, or how they felt through that game, it brought me to tears. So to me, that was the one moment that stood out in the whole series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of comments about the specific 2011 championships. Lou, we'll start with you, or not start with you. Sorry, I apologize. There, lost track of that. Um, Walk me through some of the moments that you lived watching this documentary and your overall impressions.
If you haven't watched this documentary, just shut down this podcast right now
No,
and
dude,
go
we want
and
people
go
watching
and go
us.
watch it. It's better than what we're about to say. It's really well done. It makes you proud to be a Tigre, because it hits the essence of what it means to be a Tigre. And it does everything. It gives you the roller coaster ride, right? It gives you the lows. It doesn't shy away from the sad moments we've had, as a fan base. It doesn't shy away from our failures. It clearly shows it, but it also shows the fan base and how amazing the fans are. Um, there was an interesting quote there by the Swedish guy, the preparador físico, physical trainer guy. Balsam is his last name,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
believe.
Paul Bolsom.
Um, and he said that, which I think is great because it's from an outside perspective, right? It's not one of us who are hardcore Tigres fans, but it's a guy who probably didn't know much about Tigres before coming, and he said that when he first came to the stadium, the hair in his arms just jumped up because of the energy of the fans. And so it just goes to show how special this fan base is, how special the team is, and it does such a great job of interlacing all these moments, not in a linear way, but different moments and different times, and how it all gets stitched together. You get the Siboldi side where he goes through that really sad moment in the descenso, right back in the mid '90s, to fast forward to 2023, right? It goes through the 2023 season so well done. Going that crazy season that we had, right, where we fire Piojo, we get El Innombrable de Coca, sellout, and then you get Chima Ruiz and everything we went through with Chima Ruiz, and you get the backstory of what was going on with Chima Ruiz, what was going on with the club while Chima Ruiz was coaching, right? All the injuries and what was going on with Gorriarán when he lost his father, everything, stuff that we probably missed out because we're not in that locker room. And so you get everything behind the scenes. They didn't hide any of it. The motivational speeches by Nahuel, dude. Oh man, bro, you'll just want to run through a wall. With like I tweeted out, it says that it's perfect workout show to put because it gets you super pumped up, but also like super emotional. I mean, you have to watch it. I mean, I can't. I could sit here and explain to you everything, but it's a masterpiece. It really is really well done.
Good to hear, Edgar.
So I'm missing the last episode. I'm going to knock that out, probably wrapping this up. But so far, I've really enjoyed it. For all of the crap that we had to endure from Televisa, this is a masterpiece. And this, I don't want to say it makes up for it, but you would not expect. It's a complete 180 of the normal day to day that we would put up with from them. It is extremely well done. The first opening moments when you hear Osvaldo Batocleti's voice, like that alone was just, you're in for something really spectacular and really beautiful. And like Lou mentioned, like it covers everything. It doesn't shy away from the negative things as well. As a Tigres fan, I've avoided, anything that really had to do with the Libertadores final, and this touches on so much of that. And it's the first time I revisited that final since. And you get a lot of perspectives from the players, and you do get some beautiful aspects of that part of our story as well, like that it wasn't all just a fracaso or a terrible moment. At the end of the day, it was a beautiful accomplishment, and a lot of work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from our players went into reaching that final. And there's just so many good moments that you do kind of overlook, or that you do start to see in a different perspective. Like Lou mentioned, the thing with Goriaran, sometimes us as fans or the media in general, like, a statement gets put out and then the next day it becomes yesterday's news, and you forget that, they're human beings who, still have to work through this, and it's not, it's more than just yesterday's news, and it really does affect the locker room and performance and things like that. But overall, it is extremely well done, and I do recommend that anybody, whether you're a Tigres fan or not, it's something you've got to watch.
I asked this, and not to stir the pot, but probably do want to stir the pot. Did Tu the N actually produce that, or they just bought it out to show on VIX, like they've done some of the other productions that have been going on? And that might be a Googleable question. I just don't, from the people that I've seen involved, I don't know if it's necessarily Tu the N and that was actually involved in it, because I know Bandido Diamante wrote out a lot of the script for it, and he's not involved with them. The producer, I don't think they had anybody that it's involved to TUDN. Even the people that were recording it, I didn't see any TUDN affiliation. So I think it might just be a VIX bought out production to add to their I guess lineup of things that they're trying to grow on. Um, but I did see, or at least, without watching, my perspective on it, and just seeing, and obviously I'm holding out because, like I mentioned, the whole like Vic situation, but at the same time I also feel like, it's a scary, Alfred, you mentioned tears, emotion, roller coaster emotions. It's a scary, like, approach, right? Because everything that we're doing, right, with this podcast, with our time to watch this team, to be, relieve all these moments, like it's also an exciting thing, but it can be scary because you're looking at, a lot of your youth, a lot of like your happy moments. So I'm excited to watch it. I'm gonna watch the first episode tonight, especially with you guys talking about it. Um, but overall, I think that this is what, a big piece or a big chunk of what Tigres needed as a brand, right? We've seen it from other clubs that they produce Amazon mini series or episodes, and Tigres didn't really have anything. And if it was very on a small scope. And to have something like this where you have a 6-piece document series, reliving a lot of these great moments and bad moments through our timeline of players, I think that, ultimately adds us to that elite, right? We've talked about it, like, not necessarily being one of the grandes, but definitely, the the biggest team with it, or some of the bigger teams with exposure as far as the ratings go on TV, and then just talking about on the media, people hating us, loving us, commending us on players and whatnot, Gignac and everything that he's accomplished. So I think this brings us into a different conversation as to what we represent to Mexican soccer now. And for other people from other fan bases to watch and experience that, I think solidifies that and gives us validation, not that we needed, because the success that we've had in the recent years has given us that. But I think it does add an element to, being along with the top dogs as far as branding goes. And I think that, to me, that perception is like, something that, I know that what we're doing here with this pod is like, we contribute in the smallest way possible, obviously, but it's great to see the team, you know continue to grow at a tremendous scale.
And I think it does a great job of showing that we're not just a team from 2011 forward, because there's a lot of that goes around in Twitter, and a lot of it is banter, obviously. But there's rich history in this club, and this we had early success in the mid 70s to early 80s. There was success there, and that documentary shows it. But it also shows how faithful the fan base is, which I think is probably just as important as any success we've had. The fact that we have a fan base that has stuck with this club, even though we've had some really dark moments. And so that, to me, to be able to show that, I think is going to win over some youngsters that might watch it and say, "Hey, I want a part of that," because that's the kind of team I want to support. And you get that sense, like you're very, after you finish it, you're very proud to be part of this community.
Yep, that's
Two more
definitely the
things to
feedback we
add.
got. What's that?
Just two more things to add. I heard from my dad, and I want whoever's listening out there, if somebody can confirm. Obviously, it must be true, but so see, I guess Batocletis narrating this was done through AI. I really wish we could get more info on that, because it was extraordinarily done. It was amazing. But then the other thing I also want to comment is that I really hope that the team does their effort of somehow um, making this documentary available in a physical copy, because for it to just be digitally available through Veeks, it's a crime. It needs to be available at a bigger scale. I know that elderly people are not going to be able to watch this through VIX. So if there's a way that we can make this available, if not, it's going to be pirated. It's going to be pirated, and it's going to end up in mercaditos all over Mexico. So, or at least Monterrey. So
En el tianguis.
yeah, so if they wanna make some buck out of it, they need to do it first.
100%. I know that I've seen throughout, you know, my timeline and whatnot, uh, players that probably didn't participate, obviously due to many reasons, no longer with the club, maybe not living in Mexico. Tuca obviously didn't participate, but obviously we know the reasons to that. He was asked multiple times, it's been reported, but he didn't agree to it, obviously through a salty exit. And, he didn't want nothing to do with the team after he left, and which sucks, man, because he's part of like the rich history that we have, and it just sucks that we didn't get his perspective. But it doesn't surprise me, right? Like that's who Tuca is, right? He gave all the credit to the players always. Never really was in front of the spotlight unless he was trying to like create a point or make a point in a press conference against the media. But other than that, like it wasn't very surprising. Any other people that you thought should have participated, or even if maybe necessarily didn't turn it down, would have been an excellent addition to the docuseries?
I would have loved to have seen a few more from the '96 years. El Coca should have been there. I don't know if they could have.
Munoz.
Yeah, there's a couple players there that I thought could have been included, but you also run the risk of making it too long, right? I think it was just a sweet spot, but yeah, Munoz is another guy I thought would have been great.
And that's Coca Mendoza, not Diego Coca. Just for
Yeah, Coca Mendoza, of
yeah.
course. The other guy, I don't even know who you're talking about.
So Munoz, Coca Mendoza, Alfred, any other
Cookie
guys?
Silvera.
Cookie
I would have
Silvera,
loved to see Cookie Silvera.
Edgar, any other players that you think that could have made an appearance?
I don't know if he's in there or not because I haven't seen the last episode, but for shits and giggles, I would have asked Pulido for a comment just to stir the pot some more.
He's not.
But his input's not necessary.
I don't think. I mean, he didn't have a good exit with the team, so I don't foresee he was asked to participate. But players or anything else that you probably would have added that didn't get touched upon?
It was perfect.
Perfect.
No, it really is really well done, man. Once you watch it, you'll agree with us. It really they hit the nail right on the head with that documentary. And I went in there thinking it wasn't going to be that great, to be honest with you. I went in there thinking, it'll be just mid. But this first episode kind of starts out a little bit slow. They kind of build into it as kind of an intro, and then it just gets better and better as it goes.
100. Um, it's a perfect. It's a perfect way to lead into. Obviously, we're coming here to close it out. But we have next week the Leagues Cups beginning, and we've created, or Alfred has created our Mount Rushmore edition of Tigres history, and El Cerro de la Silla,
Cerro de la Silla.
maybe not Mount Rushmore, but El Cerro de la Silla graphic, which we're going to have some of our historic players, or we're going to be putting that out and obviously discussing it as we also prepare for the Leagues Cup next week. So, any closing thoughts, fellas, before we leave? We just lost Alfred due to technical difficulties, but nonetheless, it was a great time tonight. Lots to talk about. We discussed so many things. We might have missed some things, but for the most part, we were able to cover everything and really, review everything that happened with the club over the last week.
Tigres Femenil Sunday against Dash. It'll be a great game. I'll be there. Hopefully, I get to see some of you guys out there.
For sure. Edgar, any closing thoughts?
I mean, overall, it's been a great week to be a Tigres fan. Victories all around. Hopefully, we keep that up on both sides, the men's side and the women's side, of course.
100. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Last comment that I want to make is I had mentioned it on previous pods and, and some of the people that I've spoken online. For the Miami game, it looks like there's going to be no tailgating. I've emailed, I've called, and spoken to people that work at NRG. Obviously take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what may happen that day, but apparently there's no outside food or drinks going to be allowed in. I'm not sure that has to do with the whole thing that happened at Copa America, which they upped their security protocols in the past. When Mexico has played NRG, they didn't really allow for tailgating or cooking, I should say. They allowed tailgating where you could go in there and hang out. But they didn't allow cooking or having, grills to, do your carnita asada. And it's due to the fact that, normally when games get hired for, the NFL, when they happen there, that, they, pay HPD or Houston Police Department or the fire department to work in case something happens. So I don't think that, that's taken into account, or maybe not on the grand scheme to accommodate all the people that make it to a Mexico game. So I had those thoughts, but I wanted to make sure that, I confirmed that, and I was able to speak to someone in NRG, and unfortunately they said no tailgating. Parking is going to be about $40 at NRG to park there. We'll be there. We're working on something instead of obviously, meeting there to tailgate. We're looking at maybe hanging out prior somewhere to, get to know some of the people that are making it, that listen to the pod from out of Texas or from the, surrounding Texas area who, had followed Lou for a while now, his English account, who now follow myself and, Double O Nation and, covering the team and just talking about and having a space about the team that, like I mentioned, that we love. So we're working on something, but nonetheless, if we don't get to meet some of you guys or talk to some of you guys, we'll be at the game supporting, and hopefully we do something in this Leagues Cup. We didn't, get the best result last season, but hopefully looking for something different and, making a continued, occurrence of winning hardware. So just wanted to close out with that. And thank you once again for listening to the Lau Times podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.
See y'all soon.